You're watching TAG TV.
Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jafri with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with India, where the Modi government launched its flagship scheme and world's biggest healthcare program, Ayushman Bharat. Aimed at providing an annual health cover of Rs 5 lakh to the beneficiaries, the scheme promises a disease-free life to poor, deprived and identified occupational category of urban workers' families. A report.
The Ayushman Bharat scheme, a game-changer providing health cover to as many as 500 million Indians, which was first announced by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi from the ramparts of Red Fort during his 2018 Independence Day speech in capital New Delhi, was set afloat countrywide on 25th September. Being dubbed as Modi Care, the ambitious scheme entails protection of 100 million families belonging to different sections of the society. The scheme is being deemed a panacea to the poor and underprivileged who found several treatment bottlenecks when diseased, especially the financial constraints. Although Prime Minister Narendra Modi officially launched the scheme in the capital city of Indian state of Jharkhand on 23rd, it was already being pilot tested in as many as 445 districts across the country since Indian Independence Day this year. During the launch, Modi stated that this health initiative was the world's biggest government-sponsored health care scheme.
पूरे अमेरिका की जनसंख्या, पूरे कनाडा की जनसंख्या, पूरे मैक्सिको की जनसंख्या, इन तीनों देशों की जनसंख्या मिला ले और जितनी संख्या होती है उससे भी ज्यादा लोगों को आयुष्मान भारत योजना से देश के लोगों की आरोग्य की चिंता होने वाली है.
A blend of two major schemes of the country, the flagship program envisions to provide healthcare at different levels, primary healthcare and secondary wellness centers aimed at preventing people getting diseased. In a bid to spread awareness about the scheme, a digital campaign has also been rolled out which is using various digital mechanics including ads and animations. QR code letters, also called as golden cards, are being distributed among the beneficiaries through which they can avail the annual health cover facility from any empaneled hospital, be it public or private, from across the country.
ये पेपरलेस स्कीम होगी, कैशलेस होगी और हिंदुस्तान में जो इम्पैनल अस्पताल हैं वहाँ पर जाकर के रोगी अपना उस गोल्डन कार्ड के आधार पर उपचार करवा सकता है. अगर किसी कारणवश उसका वो गोल्डन कार्ड छूट जाता है तो वो फिंगरप्रिंट्स वहाँ दे करके या औपचारिकताएं पूरी करने के बाद डिजिटल इंडिया जो श्रद्धेय नरेंद्र मोदी जी का एक विशेष एक प्रोजेक्ट है, दृष्टिकोण है, उसके तहत वो सुविधाएं उस अस्पताल में उसको मिलना शुरू हो जाएंगी. तो इसलिए इसका बहुत विशेष महत्व है.
Ayushman Bharat scheme was first announced by the government earlier this year during the 2018-19 budget session of Parliament. Under the scheme, the federal government will bear 60% of the costs and 40% would be borne by state governments. Around 1,350 diseases will be covered under this scheme, for which eligible beneficiaries will be provided free treatment. Moreover, the central government will also transform around 1,50,000 sub-centers in the country into health and wellness centers under Ayushman Bharat scheme. This scheme can be described as a game-changer initiative that will serve the poor, as it will enhance access to healthcare to a large section of society who otherwise cannot afford to pay for the medical treatment.
The Ayushman Bharat will initially be rolled out in 27 states, and each impaneled hospital under the scheme will be provided an Arogya Mitra helping desk to assist beneficiaries and hospital. Moving on to the Maldives, where amid a widespread fear of presidential elections getting rigged and democracy getting stamped, the joint opposition candidate Ibrahim Mohamed Soli comprehensively defeated the former president Abdullah Yameen. The victory that came in the wake of an obstacle-ridden campaign for opposition and a virtual autocratic rule of president lately is not only being hailed across the country but also in the international community, which was repeatedly urging the Yameen administration to restore democracy in the country. A report.
Anastatic Ibrahim Muhammad Soli, the joint opposition leader who fought a bitter election campaign against the former president of the Maldives, came out to congratulate his supporters as the vote count conclusion drew closer. He announced his victory, asserting that it was the victory of democracy and, by and large, the victory of the people of the Maldives.
This is a moment of happiness. This is a moment of hope. This is a moment of history. For many of us, this has been a difficult journey, a journey that has led to a prison cell or years in exile. It's been a journey that led to a complete politicization and breakdown of public institutions. But it's been a journey that has ended at the ballot box because the people willed it.
Yameen, who was expected to cement his grip on power amid criticism over the rigging of the vote, lost decisively to Soli as he managed to garner only 42% against 58% to his opponent, as per the provisional results declared by the Election Commission of the Maldives. The Election Commission would release official results on September 30th as stipulated in the Constitution. Abdullah Yameen, who has a constitutional right to challenge the election results before that, however, said that he will ensure a smooth transition of power and would continue in the office till his term expires.
We want to see a smooth transition. We do not want to see President Yameen back to his old tricks. No more Supreme Courts, no more martial law, no more emergency rule, no more suppression. We will hopefully again build a beautiful country.
Hundreds of supporters carrying yellow flags of Soli's Maldivian Democratic Party gathered outside the main opposition campaign centre in Malé in a jubilant mood, calling on Yameen to concede defeat. The country was in a political turmoil since February, when Yameen imposed a state of emergency to annul a Supreme Court ruling that quashed the convictions of 9 opposition leaders, including Mohammad Nasheed, the country's first democratically elected leader and former president. Yameen had been accused of crushing dissent in the Indian Ocean archipelago during a 5-year term, marred by arrest of scores of activists, opposition leaders being charged with trumped-up terrorism offences and sharp restrictions on free expression.
India, the neighbour of Maldives, which had refrained interfering in the domestic turmoil, congratulated Soli on his victory and expected a smooth transition of power in coming days. Moving on, minorities in Pakistan live under the shadow of fear. They are marginalized and persecuted socially, economically and politically on a daily basis. Of late, with a growing wave of fundamentalism under a direct patronage of civil and military rulers of the country, minorities are reeling under unrestrained persecution. Recently, a group of activists from the Christian community held demonstrations outside the United Nations on the sidelines of the 39th session of UN Human Rights Commission in Geneva. They urged the United Nations and the international community to take note of the flagrant human rights violations in the country. A report.
A large number of Pakistani Christians living in Europe, largely in the United Kingdom, gathered in front of the Palais Wilson, the office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva, to demand justice and equal rights for the minorities, especially Christians in Pakistan. Donning t-shirts and carrying Save Pakistani Christians and Stop Human Rights Violations Against Christians in Pakistan placards, they raise anti-Pak establishment slogans demanding the abolition of blasphemy laws in Pakistan. They also carried the pictures of Asia Bibi, a Christian who has been combating an exhausting battle with the system after being found guilty of committing blasphemy. Rights activists and experts say that there has been an unprecedented rise in persecution of minorities in recent times in Pakistan.
Well, the situation is quite serious and is getting bad to worse, because you see, it's happening all the time. Like, hardly a day passes when you don't hear a new case of persecution. And persecution in different ways. It's not only persecution through blasphemy laws of Pakistan. It is a social persecution, it is economic persecution. And you know, at the moment, what the condition in Pakistan is of the minorities, and in particular the Christians, that they have been made to believe that they are not equal human beings.
They also carried out a protest march from Palai Wilson to Broken Chair in front of the Palace Nations to make people aware about the persecution of Christians and other minorities in Pakistan by state and non-state actors.
Lately you have seen that one of the ads which they put in the papers, they say that the job of sweeper is in specifically for the Christians and only the Christians need to apply. So at the moment they have been made like mentally upset and psychological patients to believe that they are the inferior class and they only the menial jobs and the dirty jobs are meant for the Christians, and other jobs won't be given to the Christians.
Much of the Christian persecution in Pakistan comes from the radical Islamic groups that flourish and expand under the favor of political parties, the army and the government. Minorities have principally been targeted by Sunni Muslims, the major ethnicity of the country, both in civil and military arena. It is not just the blasphemy laws minorities have to stand and suffer regularly, but a glaring prejudice in the society has also impacted the lawmaking in the country, resulting in utterly biased laws being framed against the minority. In 1986, the death penalty was proposed for a person who was indulged in the use of derogatory remarks against Prophet Muhammad, spoken, written, directly or indirectly. Since then, it has been used as a tool by influential fundamentalists, including army personnel, to implicate minorities. As per a report released by BBC a few months back, as many as 494 Ahmadis, 181 Christians and 21 Hindus were accused of blasphemy under different clauses of law since it came into effect. However, they have received little success as the ruling dispensations in Islamabad never paid any heed to their pleas and demands.
The situation has become increasingly grim for the minorities in Pakistan. My colleague Ravi Khandelwal spoke to Sangam Gul and Shakiana, two Christian activists based in United Kingdom. Here are the few excerpts.
When we talk about a woman like Asha Bibi, who has been languishing in jails for the last several years and without any crime, she is a victim of the blasphemy law. So how do you see yourself when you compare it with Asha Bibi?
We are very fortunate that we are not in Pakistan at the moment, but we are like outside in the European countries, and we live here and we understand the quality of women's rights and what we can do, what rights we have.
Yeah.
But unfortunately in Pakistan, women don't have any rights, especially Christian women in Pakistan. They don't have any sort of say, any sort of rights. Predominantly because it's an Islamic country and their traditions, their culture, according to the Islamic laws, women are not supposed to raise their voice or stand up for anything. So obviously because of that applies to all women, not just Muslim women but all women. But then we see on the other hand that we've got women who are standing in parliament in Pakistan. We can give an example for Benazir Bhutto, who was a leader, and obviously because she was becoming a leader, she was killed. Therefore, the voices are very suppressed in Pakistan. Women's voice is very suppressed in Pakistan. We are raising voice as women here so that we can support the women of Pakistan so that they can raise their voice. It's very heartbreaking to see our women, and especially with the Asia Bibi case, we are trying to raise a voice here so that she can get her freedom. But it's not just her. There are so many other women in Pakistan who are being persecuted and they can't raise their voices. It's just very heartbreaking. But thank God that people like us, women like us, we are going to be their voice, raise the voice so that our message is delivered there. So we are going to try and do everything in our power to bring our voice up, raise our voice up so that the effect is going to be shown in Pakistan. So,
do you feel a kind of insecurity when you walk on the streets of Pakistan, being a minority?
People who live there, they do. Whenever we visit there, they share several stories with us. And we know what they are going through. But when we discuss those issues with government or high authorities, they never accept those issues. They always deny everything. But personally, we know them who are being involved in bomb suiciding and all that. Sorry, terrorist attacks. So no one comes forward to raise their voice, to become their voice. Especially Asia Bibi. She's been in jail from last 9 years and 92 days. She's away from her family, from her children, from her husband. But people post her pictures on Facebook, but no one has ever come forward for her. 2 people have raised voice for her and they've been killed in Pakistan. So that's the biggest example. Even if you try to raise your voice for minorities, for persecuted people, you can get killed in Pakistan.
Moving on. The war-torn Afghanistan is witnessing an escalated offensive as Taliban and the Islamic State have ramped up their attacks in the country. Despite several peace overtures of Kabul, the insurgents are resolute in their endeavors of overthrowing the government, which they say is illegal. Recently, during the 39th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Afghanistan's chief executive put forth the present situation of the country and various measures being taken by his government to bring peace and stability in the country. A report.
Leaders from across the globe gathered to deliberate, discuss and debate over the prevalent issues of global concern in the 39th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Amongst a wide array of issues, the protracted Afghan war was one at the forefront, where extensive efforts are being made by the government to bring the insurgents on the negotiation table. Speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, Afghanistan Chief Executive Abdullah Abdullah both promoted his country's progress in its fight to achieve stability as well as expressed a resignation to the burdens it still faces.
Since we last met, Afghanistan turned a page and made unprecedented overtures to the Taliban to be part of a credible Afghan-owned, Afghan-led peace process that could lead to a just and comprehensive political settlement through talks and reconciliations. On several occasions, we have pledged our commitment to unconditional intra-Afghan dialogue and the restoration of all rights and privileges for those who agree to end the cycle of violence. We even announced a unilateral ceasefire earlier this year that was agreed by the Taliban for a 3-day period and give the Afghans a glimpse of what peace can look and feel like.
Peace talks to end the 17-year conflict in Afghanistan have stuttered in recent months, following the failure to agree a repeat of the unprecedented 8th ceasefire in June, which saw unarmed Taliban fighters mingling with security forces in Kabul and other cities.
While we are determined to fight with vigor newer versions of terror presenting themselves as remnants of Daesh in a few pockets inside Afghanistan, we are still struggling to fully comprehend the role that terror breeding grounds, sanctuaries and founding pools, in many cases tied to criminal and illicit drug networks, play in the use and spread of terrorism. We are still trying to figure out how to render terrorism impotent as a policy tool used by some to further specific agendas.
In last few months, the United States has escalated its operations against Taliban and put an emphasis on training fragile forces of Afghanistan. However, Washington has maintained that the goal in Afghanistan is to reach a negotiated Kabul-led settlement to end the war. However, the assault on the strategic city of Ghazni last month that killed hundreds of soldiers, police and civilians underlined the insurgents' determination to increase pressure on the Western-backed government in Kabul. The Taliban, seeking to reimpose strict Islamic law after their 2001 ouster at the hands of US-led troops, have maintained their refusal to negotiate directly with the internationally recognized Afghan government, which they consider an illegitimate regime put in place by foreign powers, and say they will only talk to the United States.
Moving on to India. In various parts of the country, including Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, the occasion of Pitru Paksh was celebrated as devout Hindus performed rituals to pay homage to their dead ancestors and to pray for the well-being of their souls on the occasion that translates to the fortnight of ancestors. Such is the belief in the ritual that not only Indians but foreigners also took part in the liturgy. South Asia Focus has a report.
People, especially Hindu devotees, flocked to Indian states of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh in hundreds to pay homage to their ancestors and pray for the salvation of their souls on the occasion of Pitru Paksh, a fortnight of the ancestors. A 16 lunar day period, Pitru Paksh is an age-old ritual performed by Hindus to free the departed souls from the cycle of life and death and rest in peace. Also known as Pinddan, the ritual is performed as per ancient text, with the widely accepted belief that it will free the soul from the material world. It is also believed that performing the Pinddan brings the blessings of the forefathers, which in turn bring happiness and prosperity to the family.
ये जो पितृ पक्ष जो श्राद्ध का जो समय है, इसको बहुत धर्म का स्थान है। गया श्राद्ध करने से मरे हुए प्राणियों की पितृ आत्मा की शांति होता है और ये स्वर्ग गति को प्राप्त करते हैं, और इनके जो भी फैमिली से जो करते हैं उनके परिवार का धन धान की वृद्धि होती है, घर में सुख शांति आता है, बाल बच्चों को ऊपर में भगवान का आशीर्वाद बना रहता है, इनसे उनकी वृद्धि होती है।
Among many places, including the spiritual capital of India, Varanasi, Bihar's Gaya is considered to be the most auspicious place to perform Pitru Paksh rituals. As per mythological scriptures, Hindu god Rama offered Pinddan to his father Dashrath some 1.2 million years ago in Gaya. It is believed that Gaya is blessed with purification powers, and that's why people from across India reach Gaya to perform the ritual in the city in Bihar. Foreigners too perform rituals of Pitru Paksh in Gaya for their parents and other dead members of the family for their salvation.
मैं गया जी में पहली बार आया हूँ। मेरा नाम नरेंद्र शुक्ला है। मैं मुंबई में रहता हूँ और यहाँ पे पितृदान के लिए गया जी का बहुत सारा नाम सुना है कि यहाँ पे आने से पितरों को मोक्ष प्राप्ति होती है, और मैं अपने माता पिता के पितर के लिए उद्धार के लिए यहाँ पर आया हुआ हूँ।
Performed over a period of 16 days, different days, according to the relationship shared by the member of the family performing ritual, are considered auspicious for a different soul. For instance, on the first day, rituals are performed for maternal grandparents. On the fifth, it is for those who lost their life before getting married, and the ninth day is devoted for the ritual of the departed mother.
According to the popular belief in Hinduism, the souls of 3 preceding generations of one's ancestor reside in Pitrulok, a realm between heaven and earth, and after performing the Pinddan during Pitru Paksh, it is believed that the soul reaches heaven for reincarnation. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Take care and goodbye.